I cannot afford a home. Maybe you have been dreaming of buying a home and you have just put your head on the pillow just thinking, I don't think I can do this. And we are here to tell you today, yes, you can. And we want to talk about two home loan options that are going to help you as a first-time home buyer get into your dream home. And here's a little secret. If you've owned a home before, it means that you still might be a first-time home buyer. And we want to get into that as well. So today we are going to talk about the FHA loans as well as the USDA loans. My name is Celeste Gonzales and I am your Austin Suburbs Realtor. And every day I help people like you make their dreams become reality. And I'm here with my dear friend Grace Tripp, and she is an amazing loan officer who helps many people every single day go throughout this process that can feel very intimidating and overwhelming. So we want to just take a moment and simplify the process for you and help you get into your dream home. And so, Grace, just welcome. So glad that you're here. Thank you for taking the time to invest in all of our listeners here today. And I just absolutely love working with you. Can you just tell our listeners just a little bit about who you are and what you do?
Sure. So thank you for having me, Celeste. I love doing these with you. And I'm Grace. I'm a loan officer with Edge Home Finance. So we're brokers, which means we have a lot of different loan options, different places to put your loan, different programs and stuff like that available. And FHA and USDA are definitely two of my favorite programs when it's the right fit. So I'm excited to talk to you today about those.
Awesome. Well, okay, tell us a little bit about each one, just briefly. What is FHA and what is a USDA, and maybe their top perk?
Okay, so the FHA loan it's different than a conventional loan. It's not backed by Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac like a conventional loan are. I'm pretty sure it's the federal housing. It's either a authority or association is the A. I can like never remember. But it is a different government-backed program and it's a little bit more lenient on things like your credit score, your debt to income ratio, down payment requirements. So there are some other, little quirks with it that you have to fit into the bucket, but it is a great loan program. You don't have to be a first-time home buyer to take advantage of the FHA loan. And, with interest rates and all of that kind of where it is today, it is a great loan program. And it is usually very competitive on interest rate, maybe compared to a conventional loan. So I love the FHA program and I do it a lot often. And then USDA, oh gosh, I'm not even gonna remember what the acronym stands for right now. We'll have to look it up and we can like
Okay.
insert it later or something. But it's more of like a rural and suburban housing program. So it is 0% down payment. And again, usually the interest rates are pretty good. It is another government-backed loan program. So it's one of the strictest ones with the government shutdown right now. It's
Mm.
still, you really can't use an FHA loan right now. Hopefully that will be lifted soon, but it is affected by that. So again, 0% down. The home just has to be in a USDA eligible area. So we start to see that, in the Austin area, you really start to see that as you get outside of the metro.
Mhm.
So like Bastrop, Taylor, that kind of area, a little bit further west. I think like Leander, parts of Leander are USDA eligible. It's all, you can look online on the map. It's, public information. But yeah, so if the client fits into USDA and the home is USDA eligible, again, another really awesome 0% down program, not just specifically for first-time home buyers.
Amazing, amazing. Well, let's start with first-time home buyer loan. Okay, first of all, tell us how often can you use this type of loan?
For the
Yes,
first-time home buyer loan.
yes.
First-time home buyer, it's every 3 years. So you can't have owned a home in the last 3 years. If you're trying to go for like a first-time home buyer loan program, you could have owned a home as long as it's been sold and you don't own any other properties. So you can't own like investment properties. Your name can't be on any property, anything like that, in the last 3 years. You can technically qualify for a first-time home buyer program. With FHA can be a little strict on certain things. Like, say you own a FHA residence right now and you want to go buy another home and use FHA, there are restrictions. It has to be a certain amount of miles away. There has to be extenuating circumstances. You likely can't turn your current home into an investment property. We run into issues with that sometimes where clients are maybe trying to, buy a bigger home or downsize and still use an FHA loan, but have to qualify with potential rental income on a departing residence, and that has some restrictions. So, it just depends on the overall situation for those clients.
And talk to us a little bit about how does an FHA loan compare to a conventional loan as far as rates go?
Okay, so FHA, I mean, it's usually more competitive. I mean, it's going to vary depending on, credit score, debt to income ratio, all that kind of stuff. But it is usually, you know, a half a point better than a conventional loan.
Hmm.
The kind of thing to keep in mind with that is you have mortgage insurance on FHA that is standard. So if you're doing 3.5% down, the mortgage insurance premium is going to be 0.55 no matter what your loan amount is, your credit score is, your debt to income ratio is. And that can be a hefty chunk compared to maybe on a conventional loan, that mortgage insurance premium might only be like zero point 0.1 or zero point 0.2.
Right.
So it can add, a higher cost to your monthly payment that you might see.
And I think it's important to note as well that that doesn't stay with the life of the loan. Like once you hit, what is it, 20%?
Yes, and that's only for conventional. So
Okay.
on FHA, you are stuck with the mortgage insurance on your mortgage until you either refinance out of FHA or, sell the home or whatever. Unless I believe it's if you put 10% down on an FHA loan, that mortgage insurance will fall off. But if you're trying to stick with the minimum down payment requirement, you will likely have to refinance out of that mortgage into a conventional mortgage at some point to get out of that mortgage insurance premium.
And that's great to note. So, what would you say, what is the difference that that percent would make like on a monthly payment?
Anywhere from, an extra $100 a month, an extra $150 a month. So that's why when I'm running different scenarios with my clients, if they qualify for both options, maybe like the 3% down first time home buyer versus FHA 3.5% down, even if the rate is half a point better on FHA than it is on conventional, sometimes with that mortgage insurance premium, those payments will balance out. And
Mm,
if that's the case and they do qualify for both options, then we may want to consider the conventional route because they know that that mortgage insurance will fall off on its own. So, it's going to vary case by case. And some people, just depends, but some people, if their credit score is maybe suffering a little bit, even on a conventional loan, that mortgage insurance premium may be much higher than
mm,
it would be on an FHA loan.
right.
So those are the kind of scenarios and situations where FHA will really save a lot of money per month.
Wow, wow. And so talk to us about like credit scores because I know, people get scared a little bit when we talk about credit scores and like what do I need to qualify for an FHA versus a conventional?
Okay, so FHA, really the minimum for just a FHA loan, there are manual underwrites and things like that that are just, overlays and kind of trick your loans to get through, but still possible that will allow you to go below a 580. But really, you want to be around the 580 mark. And also, once you start going lower than a 580, there's usually factors and reasons why the score is there, and certain things like that can have make it a little bit difficult to get, the FHA approval.
Hmm.
They are more strict on things like collections, charge-offs. They look at, what you currently owe, what is the balance on those kind of things. They can't be over a certain limit. So they look at, you have to run what's called a CAVERS report on an FHA loan or really on any government loan. But so if there's, student loan delinquencies that maybe didn't report on your credit report, they would populate on the CAVERS or SBA loans, things like that. And if you have anything that comes up in that regards on the Cavers report, that can disqualify you from an FHA loan as well. So there are certain credit requirements with FHA that you won't see on a conventional.
Amazing, amazing. And what
Yeah.
other just nuances have you seen on FHA that is good for someone who is looking at the program for the very first time for them to be aware of?
So the biggest things that I've seen and that I've come across lately, especially because we are having, more and more people are wanting to learn about the FHA program or have maybe experienced some financial hardship in the past, and FHA just is a better fit for them. Definitely the collections are a thing to look out for. Paid collections aren't necessarily a good thing. It just kind of depends. You don't want to rush to just go. If you're like, oh, I have that medical collection, you don't want to just rush to go start paying stuff off. You really want to you want to have someone like me run your credit and review it. And then even if you have to work with a credit repair company, something like that can get in the way of FHA. Also, what I kind of talked about with the departing resident situation. You really have to be 100 miles away from your departing residence if you
Wow.
need to use an FHA loan and rental income. So those little kind of quirks, you come across them and
Yeah.
it can be a deal breaker. I just
Right.
had one of those happen and it was like we were almost there. We almost and that's another thing I'll say too. So this is just a PSA. I was on the phone with a client and I had ChatGPT up and I was trying to run, really quickly, like I looked at their current residence and where they wanted to buy. And I was like, okay, this is the scenario really quick. And ChatGPT said it was fine because they had more than 25% equity in their house, that even though the new house was going to be less than 100 miles away, they would still qualify. Well, it turns out that's not the case. So do not trust ChatGPT for everything. I had to
Right.
backtrack on that phone conversation, but I kind of knew, that's why I wanted to double check, but you just really have to be so careful with those kind of things. Like that's what we could do a whole video on ChatGPT and
Right.
why, we should not be using it
Right.
to
Exactly.
become loan officers and realtors. You need to
Yes.
talk to a professional.
Exactly, exactly. And that's why we want to do these real life videos as well, to help people have a better understanding than what you're just chat GPTing. And we want to tell you what you need to know versus what you want to know,
Right.
or would like the truth to be in the situation, because we want you to get in a home that you'll love and not be in
Mhm.
trouble, when you get a little further down the line and you go run into some hardships and things like that. And so,
Yes.
one of the loan programs that I love that you and I have talked about quite a bit is USDA loans. And because there are so many surrounding areas, I think one of the kind of myths that are out there with USDA is it's only for farms or, acreage and all these things. And so, can you kind of talk to us about what is a USDA loan? And how could that benefit somebody who like wants to move to the Austin suburbs? Like what areas are open to those?
I don't know if it's possible to pull up the map or
Yeah.
anything, but it's really simple if you just type in your area, wherever you may be. Texas, there's a lot of rural areas. It was a program that was started to help people be able to buy outside of cities and kind of start expanding options for people. So it's a great program because I personally am a big fan of, getting further out from a city and still having it be affordable. So yeah, it's not just for a farm, it's not just for land, it's really just for any area that is suburban, rural, and qualifies under the USDA eligibility map. So there are some income restrictions. You have to run a calculation for every family that you do a USDA loan with just to make sure they fit within the income restriction. It's for what you would term like lower income. That's like how they describe it, but it's really not. I wouldn't consider it lower income. It's just you have to fit within the income qualifications, based on your family size, the total income for everybody who's going to be living under the roof. It has to fit, those guidelines. But as long as you fit there, and your debt to income ratio and your credit score is where you need it to be for the USDA program, which credit score wise, usually a 620.
Okay.
620, 640. So they're a little bit more strict on credit score. And then debt to income ratio is it's one of the more strict programs on debt to income ratio. Your front end ratio has to be around 31 and your back end ratio has to be around 43. So the back end ratio is the big one, and that is any minimum monthly payments that you have on credit cards, student loans, a car note, plus your housing payment
Mm.
has to be 43% or less of your gross monthly income. And that's, your monthly income before any taxes or anything gets taken out of it. That's your gross income. So your debt cannot exceed the 43% of that versus an FHA loan where you can go up to 55%. So you can, you have a lot of wiggle room on FHA. So that's why FHA is great for clients who are maybe a little bit tighter on the debt to income ratio and still really want to get into their dream home.
Yeah. And the map changes how it pretty frequently, doesn't it? Of where.
Yeah, they're likely adjusting it regularly, just depending. I mean, I have seen some areas that were once USDA eligible have are no longer USDA eligible. I don't know honestly how they come up with that or what, how they determine that, but I would assume once an area is starting to get really populated, it's, they've kind of utilized all of their USDA for that specific area.
So
So,
some of the main aspects of this loan is that it's zero down, right? And then it is income restricted, but it's
yes.
still, 620 to 640 is not bad for a credit score. And
No.
and that's definitely doable. We're gonna link a description to another video that's all about your credit score and how to improve that with this video. And so I'm super excited to share that with you. So if you're freaking out, you're like, oh no, I don't have a 620. Well, don't worry. Grace and I are going to help you get there. So that's going to be amazing. One of the other things I wanted to ask you about is TSAHC. Can you
Mhm.
share with us just a little bit? We did a video prior to this about TSAHC, but can you
Mhm.
share what that is? And then does that work with programs like USDA and FHA?
Yes. So TSHAC it's like the Texas Affordable Down Payment Assistance Program. We talked a little bit about the different types last time, I believe. So there's the grant, down payment assistance, which is going to be a little bit of a higher interest rate because you don't have to pay it back.
Right.
And then there is the down payment assistance that it's like a 3-year forgivable second lien essentially. So you have to hold it for 3 years. If you refinance or sell, you have to pay it off. So it does eat into the equity a little bit, and that's going to be a little bit of a lower interest rate than the grant because of the terms, but still higher than just your standard FHA or USDA interest rate. Those are all available publicly as well. You can just go to the TSHAC website and you'll see what those rates are. And yes, so on FHA, that is a great option to bridge the gap of your down payment. As long as you're okay with a little bit of a higher monthly payment there, if you really want help with the down payment, that is great. USDA, it's 0% down, so it's not going to be covering a down payment. You can use it to cover some closing costs and things like that. Yes, I did some research on this. I have not done a USDA down payment assistance. I don't know how much I guess it would just depend on the situation for the borrower, but if you could get a seller credit to help cover some closing costs or things like that, that's going to be a much more financially beneficial way to get someone into a home because you're putting someone in a higher interest rate just to pay for closing costs, not even down payment. So again, would vary case by case, but I don't know if that would be like my first choice
Mhm.
to do for someone with
Yeah.
USDA.
Yeah. And what are some of the common misconceptions or mistakes that buyers make with these programs?
I have seen, some people just kind of have a misconception around what they mean. And
Mhm.
they think maybe if they don't qualify for a conventional loan, then like it's not a good deal for them, or it's not a good loan program, or it's some sort of subpar loan program, when it's really not. These are programs that are set up to help buyers in different income brackets and different situations still be able to get into a home that they want to have a family in. So I have had clients, kind of struggling with the idea of being in an FHA loan or really having a hard time with that mortgage insurance not falling off. But the average life of a loan, at least the last time I looked, was 7 years. And
Mm,
even then, I mean, most people are refinancing nowadays after three,
right.
4 years. So you're not stuck in your loan for 30 years. I mean, you can be if you'd like to, but people want to do cash out refinances. They want to take out equity at some point. So there's definitely ways to get out of these programs and into a conventional loan. But honestly, at the end of the day, like I don't really see a negative
Yeah.
to either program.
Yeah.
So I guess the equity thing might be the only concern I would have on a USDA loan with no money down is you don't have any instant equity essentially in your home because you haven't rebuilt it yet. So you're just really going to be waiting on appreciation in order to either refinance or sell.
Yeah.
So again, that's kind of where our jobs come in. We want to communicate, we want to have these conversations with the clients and find out what is your long-term goal? Do you want to live in this house forever? Is this a starter home? Where are you at with your business, with your family, with finances? All of those kind of things will help determine if this is a good program option for
Right.
you or if we want to look at other options, you know?
Yeah. Well, this is such incredible information, Grace. I just want to say thank you so much for not just doing your homework, but for caring for people in such a way that helps them in their particular situation. This is not a one size fits all business. This is a type of business that actually sits down with somebody one on one and customizes a program and a plan that's going to work for them, for their future, for their goals, and for their family. And we also know that things change. You know,
Mhm.
people change, their families grow, and they might need in a bigger place, or they might need to downsize, or move
Mhm.
for a job. And we want to be able to help them in every single area and stage of their life. And so, thank you so much for all of this. What we want to do is to help you if you are interested in USDA loans. We would like for you to drop a message to us. We'll send you some email links below. And if you let us know the address, we'll let you know if it's eligible or not. There are some great areas in the Austin suburbs that are actually within the USDA mapping. And you have to know the exact address because sometimes, even within a zip code, a house could lay inside the USD and sometimes it's outside of it. So we just need to know what address you're interested in looking for, or if there's just a particular area and you want to learn more about that, we want to help you. But there are areas out in Gerald, out in Bastrop, I believe, in Bertram, like all these surrounding areas that are easy commutes into the Austin area. So we would love to help you. Drop your comments below, send us a message, reach out, and we are excited to help you get into your first home or your first home in a long time. So we love you. Thank you again, and we'll see you soon on our next episode.